Welcome to the Naked Peaches. I'm Anna.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Samii.
Yay, Sammy's here today. Okay, so obviously we saw you yesterday when you came into town, and I'm really excited because I feel like you're an extension of the team, and we just know you so well, but we've never met. So this has been amazing to spend 2 full days with you.
Agreed.
Yeah. Samii, I feel like you should talk a little bit about how you came to be involved with Naked Peach and the different things you do for us, and just tell the people about your Naked Peach journey.
Yeah, for sure. I joined the group when it was still just Sierra Godson Photography. So 2.5 years ago, something like that.
And she's talking about the VIP Facebook group.
Yeah, the VIP Facebook group. And I joined because another friend of mine was like, oh, there's this amazing group of people or women that you should join because everything's so supportive and also giveaways and also all the things that we all want to be a part of. So I joined. And within a month, I was absolutely obsessed with everything about that group and just delved as deep as I could into it. And I think at one point in February 2020, I think it was, or 2021, Sierra had made a post about how she was a little bit overwhelmed, but she was going to get through all of the posts and things were pending and whatever. So I messaged her and was like, hey, you don't know me, but I have no life and I would be more than happy to help if you want me to. And at first she was like, ooh, I'm really particular about things and no offense to you or anything, but probably not, which was fine. Mm-hmm. But a month later, she messaged me again and was like, hey, actually, I probably do need a little bit of help. Can you just approve posts and delete posts that are duplicates or whatever? So I did that for months, 4 or 5 months, I think. And it was going great. I absolutely loved it. I became super deep into Naked Peach, love, obsessed. And as you guys progressed with your company, I also progressed with you, and I took on more and more responsibilities and started doing content posting for you guys. And I do replying to comments and things on Instagram now, and it's just, I don't know. I take on as much as I can because I absolutely love the business and what you guys do and how supportive everybody is. And I've met so many amazing people. I love it.
Yeah, you've met one of your besties in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Which I think is so cool.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with her, Emily.
She's going to visit her after this.
Wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Emily Turner. She's my bestie.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to have you here in person, Samii. I feel I know you already, and I just want to say, you made my life a lot easier as the person who kind of, started out being responsible for all the content and have since, delegated lots of little pieces of it to different people. You were one of the first people to kind of jump in and, help with all the stuff I was managing, and it has always made things easier for me, so I just really appreciate you. I think one thing that's cool about Naked Peach is that we have a lot of different audiences. I feel our Facebook group is its own little world. And sometimes I'll post a TikTok from our page in the Facebook group and people will be like, you guys are on TikTok? And I'll be like, what? How do you not? You're not following us on TikTok, but I feel they're totally different audiences on every platform, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
So the Facebook group is its own thing, and if you're not in it, just to kind of give an idea, it's a place where it's really a place where people post their stuff they're going through, ask for advice. People post a lot of selfies and get hyped up by everyone else in the group. We share our galleries from our shoots and things like that, but it's really I feel it's just a lot more than just our brand. It's it's a place, a community where people support each other.
So one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on, I feel well, one, because obviously we love you and we know you so well, but two, you have such an interesting background and these different parts of your life that I feel so many other people just either know a little bit about, don't know anything about, or are genuinely curious. I am so curious about all these things that we're about to ask you about today. Mm-hmm. But I want to start with careers and your just career as this sex toy testing. I have 1,000 questions, so please start from the beginning and let's just dive into this.
Yeah. So I was 20-ish years old, I believe, because it was before my daughter was born. And my mother-in-law at the time reviewed things for a company called Eden Fantasies, which it is still an online adult shop. And in order to review things for them, you had to have a blog set up. So she came to me and she's like, hey, you're young and hip-ish. You should do this. And I was like, why not? I was a stay-at-home parent at the time because my husband had another daughter that she stayed with us. And she was like 2 or 3 at the time. I was like, this will be something that I can keep my mind off of things. So I signed up, set up a blog, signed up for their affiliate program first, and bought a couple of things. I had only had like the basics at that point, like a single vibrator that was a bullet and, no dildos.
The classic vibrator that doesn't really do anything
yeah,
for
no,
anyone.
It just makes a sound essentially.
Yeah,
the
that introductory vibrator.
That was it. That was the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah.
But I started this blog and I called it Let's Talk Sex. And
That's a good title.
Right?
Yeah.
I talked about everything under the sun sex related, which I knew very little about. Because I didn't lose my virginity until I was 18, but I had a lot of experience between 18 and 20 when I was with my husband. But I did my best and I did a lot of research, and I had people that would like write in and be like, oh, we want to try this, but we know nothing about it. And I knew nothing about it. So I would research and talk to people and then write this super long blog post and include things from Eden Fantasies in that blog post, even if I didn't have them or use them, because I was like, oh, this is a great segue to affiliate stuff. Like, I can get money for this. And within 6 months, Eden Fantasies reached out and was like, hey, we want to increase like what you do for us because you're bringing in a lot of traffic. And at that time, I think I was getting like 2,000 views a month on my blog, which was a lot for me.
No, that's a lot. And like back then especially,
Yeah, and it was worldwide too. When you went on to like my, what is it called? Insights.
Analytics.
Analytics.
Yeah.
It was like people from Russia, people from Cambodia, people from Indonesia, like all of these Asian-based countries that I wasn't expecting. And it wasn't like creepy situations where we get nowadays where it's like, oh, I don't want those views on it.
Yeah.
And so they started sending me boxes of things every month that I didn't have to pay for, that they just needed to be like promoted more.
Wow.
And I did that for a couple of months, and within a couple of months I had companies like Cal Exotics reach out directly and be like, oh, we need somebody to test this product before it goes to market and tell us, is it going to be good? Is it going to catch fire? Which a couple of them did. Is it how long does the battery life last?
Stop.
Before a human is trying it.
Yeah,
well, that's the thing.
What?
So they would send me like especially things that needed to be recharged, because this was in the beginning of rechargeable toy phases.
Okay.
And it was like, we need you to plug it in and let it sit there for X amount of hours to see if it gets too hot, or like if things start melting, or if you start smelling something funny, because they were at the end of their like beta periods and they needed to have human testers before it could go onto market.
Yeah.
And so that ended up being me.
Were you ever using one on yourself?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I
You're
did
just
a lot.
masturbating all day long.
That came later. No, so it started off as just very like clinical. I'm setting up this toy here in this space of my house, and it just would like stay plugged in or stay turned on if it was a battery operated toy, to see how long batteries would last when it was in use.
Got it.
Just like super technical things like that. But then those reviews started like firing off on my blog, and people were writing in being like, well, how does it actually feel? How long does it take you to get off?
Yeah, that's what people want to know.
Right. Like the toy companies want to know the technical stuff, but everybody else just wants to know like, how does it feel? So then that started on my journey of self-pleasuring, which was something that I did, but I didn't do it super frequently at the time. And I got to the point where I was doing that like 5 or 6 times a day so that I could do really like important blog posts and things. And at the height of my blog career, I was getting like 30 to 40,000 views a month from all over the world. People writing in, like asking me questions. I felt like I was Dear Abby in the newspaper, if you guys are old enough to remember that. And it was absolutely amazing while it was happening. And then everything got shut down pretty quickly towards the end. But yeah, sex toy reviewing is like insane.
So this growth was all just like organic, right? Because you weren't like paying for.
No.
And then what made it shut down? Was it like because it was about sex toys?
So my ex-husband was going through a custody battle with his first wife, and she used my blog in court saying that I was exposing her child to adult situations. And the judge told me, if you want any chance of having your stepdaughter in the house, it needs to be gone. So it had to be shut down.
Oh my God.
And it sucked.
That's such a tragedy. And
Yeah.
it's also like, it has nothing to do with, it's like everybody has vibrators in their house. You're just
Yeah.
writing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, like, I feel like that's a good thing because you're at least, like, knowledgeable about it and you're
Yeah.
clearly, like, understand how to, like, articulate what's going, you know? It's like, I feel like that's a valuable skill
Yeah.
to have.
You would think, but the judge was like, no. So that was a
Let me guess,
really
it was
rough
an
match.
old white guy.
It was, yes. Yeah.
Classic. I can't wait until the judges are not old white guys
God,
anymore.
it's going to be so long until then.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Back to sex toys.
Yeah. Okay, out of all the toys you tested, what was your favorite toy?
Magic wand.
Okay.
Hands down. It's the
My
only
fave.
toy that
Is
I
that
have
the one you've talked about?
repurchased. The only toy that I've repurchased 3 times since I got it originally, and it's pretty much the only toy that I use now.
Really?
Yeah.
And is it the original, the OG name brand one?
The first repurchase was, but then I discovered the rechargeable one and not having to be stuck with a cord. Amazing. Also, the original one has 2 settings, and they are both very intense settings. And the rechargeable one has 4 settings, I think it is, and like the ability to do like the different patterns, which I'll never understand why somebody wants to use a pattern, but it's there. And that's also very nice of being like, oh, I can start off nice and slow and build my way up instead of being like,
Yeah, the magic wand is really intense. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to be, I feel like you have to be already excited to use it. You can't
Yeah.
just, like, go in raw with the magic
No.
wand,
Yeah.
no lube.
you
Like,
can't just be like, oh, I think I'm going to use this right now. You have to be like,
You have to start
feeling it.
Yeah.
already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you use the magic wand with a partner, or is it
Oh,
just
yeah.
for
Yeah.
you can? Okay.
Yeah. For sure.
and they love it.
Yeah? Okay.
Usually. I
Yeah.
feel like.
I mean, they can use it on you, or you can use it between the 2 of you, like during penetration.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it also
And it's-
vibrates them.
Yeah, it's so strong. It's, like, so powerful that
Yeah.
they feel the vibration, too.
Okay. I'm gonna buy a magic wand.
You have to.
As
Yeah.
soon as this podcast is over. So.
I need the link for the one that doesn't have a fucking cord, so I'm not chained to the wall.
I
every time
didn't
use
even know
it.
sex toys had cords. I thought all of them were wireless.
Yeah, no.
Literally the magic wand, like the OG.
Yeah.
You can still buy it at like a Macy's type store in like the bedding section, and it says like personal massager. Like it's marketed as like a back massager
Yeah.
for
Love.
like old ladies. Like,
Love.
but it's like the best sex toy out there.
For sure.
How long is the cord though? 'Cause I
It's
feel
not very long.
No,
I feel
it's
like it's like
4
this long.
feet.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I've used an extension cord with it before.
We keep an extension cord in the sex toy box for specific reasons like that. You don't want to be just 4 feet away from the wall.
Or like when you're using it and you you accidentally pull it out of the wall.
Oh,
It's so frustrating.
No. That's the worst.
In the worst possible time, too.
Okay, so that's the best one. What's a toy that like caught fire?
Oh, gosh. The ones that caught fire didn't even make it to market, so I don't think they
Okay.
had names yet.
Yeah, hopefully you can't buy those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's like one that's like popular but it's like actually not that good?
Anything jelly based.
Oh.
So jelly is like the worst material that you can have with a sex toy because it cannot be sanitized. It's porous and bacteria will get into there and you cannot clean it. You could soak it in bleach and don't do that, by the way. That's horrible. Don't do that. But you could and it would still have bacteria.
Wow.
So anything jelly, and that's most of the cheaper toys are jelly based and people get infections from it because they can't get clean.
Those are the ones where it's kind of like the feeling of it is almost sticky.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're going to use one, use a condom on it every single time because you will get yuckies.
Yeah. That's so why can't they just sell that and be like, put this unclean thing inside of you?
Because it's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people still buy them, especially like first time users. They go in and they're like, oh, I don't know what I want, but I only want to spend $20. Oh, well, here's this pretty pink jelly. I think they're like crystal jelly or whatever
Yeah.
dildo. You can use this. And then they end up getting an infection and then they never want to use toys again.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, scary. Do you think that magic wand is like the number one for most people who try it? Like, do you feel like everyone has that same reaction to it, or is it like more of a unique kind of person by person thing?
In my experience, I say it's pretty 50-50 because you have to enjoy like deep vibrations to be able to enjoy the magic wand. And if you're just somebody who needs like super light, like buzzy kind of vibrations, the magic wand's just going to be too intense and you're not going to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'd say like 50-50.
I like the magic wand because I feel like a lot of sex toys, like the part that simulates your clit is like tiny. It's like this little tiny,
Yeah.
you know, thing.
It's like
and
just
it's like
for the clit.
It's too, you have to really be precise to like, to get it to be constantly stimulating you. But the magic wand is so big that I can just kind of like put it anywhere and it's like stimulating it, you know?
I 100% have a position where I'm on my back and my legs are like a frog and my feet hold it in place and it just
Wait,
does
that's fucking genius.
That's so genius.
And then I don't have to touch anything. I can be on my phone looking at porn.
I have never thought about that.
Me neither. My mind is blown right now. I'm like over here like going like this, like
nope. Use your feet. It's glorious.
Wow.
Never even. Wow.
Also a really good position if you're playing with your partner and you want to like give oral. They can be like, you know, all up in your face business and you can be using your hands while you're still also getting stimulated because your feet are holding the vibrator up.
Wow.
Yeah.
This never crossed my mind ever.
Okay, we need names for these. We have the solo froggy. We have
the partner froggy.
The partner face fucking froggy.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, I'm literally gonna be trying these tonight. I need to know.
New plan. I'm gonna create my own book of sex positions utilizing the wand. It's gonna be a thing.
You should
Wait,
do
you
that.
actually should.
You should make a little ebook and sell that.
I'm going to. So.
I would buy it. Literally sign me up. I'll be your first customer.
We'll put it on the pod as our obsession. We'll link it every pod.
I love it.
That's such a good point though, because I feel like whenever you see those like diagrams of like all these different sex positions, like I feel like I look at most of them and I'm like, none of that looks very fun. You know, it all looks like it's like you're just really trying. Like you're like, I'm trying to put on a show and be an acrobat here.
Yeah.
You know, because it's all just about like penetration usually. But if you have a position with the wand, then it's like, okay, this is actually going to do something for me. So I'm excited. When is this book coming out?
I will start working on it tonight.
Okay.
I can't wait. What is, okay, so for, two questions. One for like people that maybe like don't use, you know, vibrators either solo or with partners, like what do you think is like a good entry way for like those people to start? And then two, for people that like maybe have dabbled in it, what is like your advice for like how to like level it up? Kind of like this like position thing, you know, that you're saying right now.
Starting out, definitely just go into a sex shop. Like if you have no experience with any toys at all, going online is your worst nightmare because you're going to get something that's way too big. Because like even now I'll look at a toy online and be like, oh, it's only 1.5 inches in diameter. And then you get it and you forget that diameter is across or like around whatever it is. And then it's like this big. And you're like, that's not going anywhere near me. And so it's very intimidating. But going like into a store and going into a store where there's like somebody that doesn't look 18 selling you the product. I have gone into so many sex stores and the person that comes up and is all bubbly and wanting to help immediately recommends like a jelly toy because they have no experience. And they're just like, oh, here's this cheap thing that I know I can get a commission on because it's an easy sell. And I have to pop in and be like, actually, that's a horrible idea. Don't do that. Let's come over here to the silicone toys that can be cleaned and let me tell you why. So like finding somebody that looks like they have a little bit more wisdom when you go into a sex shop, highly recommend. As for like if you've dabbled in them already, honestly, just continuing to like try new things. Like I know we all get into a habit of like, oh, this works, so I'm going to stick with this. But like pushing your boundaries, watching a lot of porn is another like recommendation, and not like staged porn. Like straight up look up amateur masturbating, blah, 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 plus girls if you don't want to watch guys jack off constantly. And just like watching what they're doing because everybody does it a little bit differently. That's like number one in my mind of like, because you're not going to ask your friend, hey, how do you use this vibrator? Most of the time I would because that's just who I am. But in most cases, you're not going to do that. And so the internet's your best friend. But stage porn is never what you want to base anything in your life on. So.
Yeah,
and they never use vibrators when it's like male, female.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like,
why you want to specifically look up like self-pleasure, masturbation, and then amateur. The word amateur is going to get you the best porn ever in any category that you look at because it's not staged.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. This is like really opening.
I'm learning a
my eyes.
lot right now. Yeah. And I know we've talked about cleaning, but like what are the best ways to clean things? I feel like this is important.
If it's waterproof and doesn't require you to plug it in, your dishwasher. Don't judge me. It's like the best because it gets up to a temperature where it sanitizes things. It sanitizes your dishes. I would pay attention to what soap you're using because some soap isn't the greatest, but if you're using it to clean your dishes, it's probably going to be body safe.
Yeah.
And then after you take it out, using a sex toy wipe and just wiping it down real quick, and then storing all of your toys separately, like even if it's in Ziploc baggies, because if silicone things touch, they'll melt together.
I didn't know that.
Didn't know that either until it happened to me like 8 or 9 years ago, and I was like, "What the hell's happening to my damn vibrator? Why is it melted together?"
Yeah.
So yeah, like the dishwasher, if it's not something that you have to plug in. If you do have to plug it in, honestly, just a sex toy wipe because they're made for that and they're body safe if you get a reputable kind.
What is the sex toy? Is it like alcohol? Is it like?
I'm assuming it's part alcohol. I haven't
Yeah.
really looked into the like ingredients a lot in it, but
Okay.
It's basically just a sanitizing wipe.
Yeah.
Do you know what brand you buy?
I have no idea, but I can look it up and
Okay.
send you.
Yeah, send it
like,
to us.
We'll post a link in the story.
Yeah. The people need their sex toy wipes.
I mean, it's important.
Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wash my magic wand with hand soap. So.
Yeah, I do too. I do hand
Yeah.
soap and water in my sink. Like, maybe I
And
should
if
be doing
you're
that.
with somebody and you're not sure if they wash their stuff, put a condom on it. You can slap a condom onto the top of a magic wand and it doesn't affect its like use at all, but it makes it a lot more safe. And if it's a partner that like it's a one-time partner, put a condom on it. Like that's just going to be the safest way for everybody to just throw a condom on it.
I didn't even
so
know you
smart.
could do that. That is so smart.
I know. I like.
Like, obviously, I have, like, one partner that, so it's, like, not whatever, but I never even, like, thought, like, oh, put a condom over a sex toy.
Yeah.
Well, even if it is just your one partner, if you're like in the moment, you're like, oh damn, did I clean this the last time I used it? You don't want to be worrying about that and be like, oh, hold on, I need to go wash this before we use it. Just slap a condom on it and then you're good, and then wash it afterwards.
That's so smart.
Do you remember what your most popular blogs were from like before it got taken down?
Anything anal sex related.
Really?
Yeah, that was a
Interesting.
super big topic, especially in foreign countries. Anything anal sex related, like how to prepare for it, how to make it happen to where it doesn't hurt, like what to do afterwards. Like everybody doesn't talk about aftercare when you do anal sex, and that was anything.
What is the
like that.
aftercare for
Yeah, walk
anal?
us through like what your tips for that.
Just making sure that you clean up afterwards, same as you would regular sex. Sitz baths are really huge if anal sex isn't normally in your repertoire, because it helps. It increases cleanliness down there because you're going to be draining for like a while after anal sex, and it keeps everything clean. But it also helps with like swelling and irritation, and just like sitz baths are number one. But
Is
also,
that where you're taking a bath and you're just sitting? Like,
Epsom salts and warm water, and just like it's usually like 2 inches of water. You're not dousing your entire body, and you're just chilling there for like 10 minutes, just to help relieve pressure and all of that good stuff. But also like not being afraid to use things like hemorrhoid creams, because that helps with swelling and irritation too. And everybody gets freaked out about that. Like, oh, I don't want to have to put a cream there. Well, it helps.
No, that totally makes sense. What are your tips about preparing for anal sex?
Taking it slow, using a lot of lube. If you've
got to be pouring lube into your butthole.
Like they have.
Make me choke on my water. Oh my god.
They have like syringe looking things that you can. They don't have like a pointy tip. It's a dull tip that you can fill up with lube to shoot into your butthole. That way you get lube like all up and down there. They're amazing. Highly recommend those.
Wow.
A numbing or desensitizing lube, but only if your partner is using a condom, because it will numb or desensitize them, and that just kills everything. Learn that one the hard way. And then making sure that when you're using lube and you're using a condom, making sure that you're using a lube that doesn't break down the condom. So that's a huge thing. But taking it slow is, I think, the biggest thing, because people get really excited. Men especially will get really excited and just be like, I can just stick it in. That's not the way it works. You got to start off like super small and then just gradually keep increasing. And the more that you're pleasuring yourself, the easier it's going to be to relax back there. So like keeping a vibrator on yourself while you're doing it, and just understanding that it's a back door and things are going to be weird and gross and smelly, but it also feels really good if it's done right.
Yeah. You have to accept that, like, there might be some poop involved.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You just clean it up afterwards.
And if you're not comfortable with that with the person that you're doing it with, you probably shouldn't be doing it with that person.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. You know what is always so fascinating to me? That, like, in, like, certain religions where people don't have sex, like, where having sex before marriage is, like, a really big taboo thing, that they do anal sex. Because I'm like, to me, it's so much more intimate, and, like, I have to have so much trust with that person. Like, I can't imagine, like, just my 16-year-old boyfriend when I was in high school being like, yeah, we're going to do anal tonight. Like,
No.
I don't, but there's, like, teenagers out there doing that because they, like, think it's just, they're going to go to hell if they have,
Vaginal
P&V sex.
Yeah.
Highly don't recommend.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
Well, and it's like they're also not the ones that are going to be like, oh, like, we should take it slow. Like, let's get a lot of lube. Let's prep well. Let's prep well after. It's like in the backseat of a car where they're, like, hiding from their parents and being like, stick it in.
Very
like,
uneducated.
No lube, shitting all over your boyfriend. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Don't recommend that. And then also, if you do it without prepping properly, you could risk, like, having trauma back there. I've seen people have to go to the emergency room because they got torn open in the back because they didn't do the things properly. And it's just, I don't recommend. Do your research and then use a lot of lube and then use a lot of prep. Like,
what are your favorite lubes?
Oh gosh, I can't think of them now. So for backdoor fun, I use products that are aimed towards, like, gay men because they know their lube.
Like Astroglide?
Astroglide.
Yeah.
There we go. That's one. And then there's another one it starts with, like, bullet something. I can give you a list. I was not prepared to remember what.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll post the list. We can post it in the description of the podcast and on our Insta story.
Yeah.
And then I have, like, a
curious.
desensitizing one that I use a lot, especially for, like, solo play.
Okay.
Using your wand with a plug in, highly recommend.
I haven't tried that.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Okay.
But don't get the desensitizing lube on the front part, otherwise your wand's going to be pointless.
Yeah. Do you recommend, I've heard people say that if you, like, want to try anal sex but you haven't done it, that you should, like, try a butt plug and then, like, work your way up to bigger sizes. Do you recommend that?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have training kits now where it starts off and it's, like, a plug that's a finger size, and then they get a little bit bigger. But, like, the biggest thing for anybody starting off with plugs is to make sure that the flange on the end is big. Like, it's a big thing that's not going to get sucked into you. Speaking from experience, I have a video of this, actually. They called them princess plugs, and they're, like, these cute little jeweled, like, metal butt plugs.
I have one of those.
Yes. Most women do because they're freaking adorable, right? And my current husband, we were doing our thing, doggy, and I felt him stop and then keep going. And I was like, ooh, something doesn't feel, like, quite normal. I don't know what's going on. And then afterwards, I was trying to clean up, and I was like, where's the plug? And he's like, oh, I thought it fell out. So we started looking for it, couldn't find it, and I was like,
did you feel it was in you?
Not at that time, no. So I, like, went to the bathroom and I started searching, and I could feel the top of, like, the bottom of it with my finger, and I was like, oh, it's, like, in me. And he's like, what do you mean? And then
your butthole ate the butt plug.
Well, he was, like, pushing on it, like, during sex, and it popped in, but he thought it popped out. And I, like, sat for, like, 20 minutes trying to, like, childbirth this thing out, and it was not budging. And I was like, you need to come in here because you did this. And he tried digging it out, and it was not happening. So I had to go to the emergency room, and we get in there, and I was like, I have a butt plug in my butt, and it's not coming out. And the person checking me in was like, are you sure it's a butt plug? And I was like, yes, I know my shit. It's a butt plug. Thank you very much. I had to have surgery to get it out because they couldn't get it out. And the surgery was, like, I was numbed from the waist down, but I was still fully coherent.
No.
And the doctor was like, I have a couple of apprentices here. Do you mind if they come in? Because this isn't something that we get to do every day. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I did not know that this man was going to be elbow deep in my anus, like, 20 minutes later, which he was. Jason was in there, and Jason passed out because of how, like, graphic it was. Because it had traveled so far up at that point that they had to, he was literally, like, elbow deep in my butthole.
My butthole is clenched so tight right now. Like,
And then afterwards, he had it in a baggie, and he's like, do you want it back? And I was like, I never want to see that thing for the rest of my life. I get home and realize that our cameras were on in the living room when it happened, and I could watch it play out. I still have this video because it blows my mind, where you're watching my husband just like go at it, and he pops it in and he stops and looks and does this and keeps going.
Oh my
No.
god.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
No.
I hope he like took you out to dinner or something later, or like
No, we went to work. I had to go to work after that.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my
No.
God.
Yeah, telling my boss that I was late because I had to have surgery to remove a butt plug from my butt was the highlight of my career with that job.
Okay, while you're in the surgery and there's the doctor, there's these apprentices, are they like talking to you? Are they?
He's explaining to me what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's explaining to the apprentices what's happening of like, first we're going to use this to like dilate the area because we have to be able to get our hand in there and the instruments in there. And I'm like laying on my side, like colonoscopy position.
Yeah.
Like with one apprentice holding my butt cheek up. 'Cause I'm like 320 pounds at this time. Like there's a lot going on back there. So like one of them is holding up one butt cheek and the doctor's like doing his thing and the other one's behind him taking notes. And I'm just like, what is going on? Because it's all numb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you feel pressure?
Pressure you
Yeah.
could feel, which was a lot.
Yeah.
For having somebody elbow deep in your anus. Yeah.
Oh.
And it did not
So
recover
you
for
can
like
say
6
your
months.
butthole has been fisted now.
It has, yeah. And not
Wait, for 6 months?
for 6 months, yeah. It was horrible, like the recovery from that.
Did it hurt every time you took a shit afterwards?
But so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So make sure, moral of the story, when you're using a butt plug, that the flange is big enough that it doesn't get sucked into your butt.
It's crazy because I feel like those diamond things are like, they're like this big. Which I
Yeah.
guess, that could fit inside your butt.
Yeah.
It
you know?
could, yeah.
Because
Think about like a
especially
really
that's,
big poop,
a dick.
you know?
Yeah.
If the plug is the same size as the flange, it can get sucked in because
Yeah.
your butthole's already dilating to the size of that plug.
Yeah.
And the idea is that the neck of it, it'll constrict around the neck of it, but if it's already that size, it can't get pushed in, especially
Yeah.
if your partner's like really into pushing it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a button? Like I don't
Like a button, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Your poor butthole.
I know. And like I'm just thinking about like I was like thinking, okay, what is your butthole connected to? And it's like your intestine, so it's like really long.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
in theory, if you hadn't gone right away, it probably could have traveled up further, and they would have been like, we need to cut you open
Yeah.
to get to this, which is so scary. I wonder how often
That's
that
part of the
happens.
reason why they numbed me the way that they did. I had like a full-on epidural because they were like, if we can't reach it, we're going to have to like cut and do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we'd rather have you prepped for that than have to like do all of this and then have to like do the epidural and anesthesia and all that good
Yeah.
stuff. So
Holy
Wow.
shit.
Wow.
I am throwing that butt plug away after this.
they're super cute. Great
Yeah.
like pieces for your wall. I used to keep like all of my glass dildos on like a shelf. Those are perfect for that, but I highly recommend you don't
A
utilize
glass dildo?
Yes.
That sounds scary. What
Oh
if it
no, they're
breaks?
amazing.
What
They're
if-
one of the best materials to have a dildo made out of.
Really?
Because
Really?
it's completely sanitizable. Definitely something you can throw into the dishwasher. And they're made of Pyrex glass, so they don't chip.
Okay.
And if they do, like, I've thrown mine against a wall when I was doing the sex toy reviewing. Like, I would throw them against the wall, I'd throw them on cement, and I've never had one chip or break. But in product testing at the company, if they did break, it was like in big pieces, like a Pyrex glass would, not like a car windshield where when you break it, it like shatters into tiny little pieces.
Yeah.
Okay. I never even thought about that.
I feel like I would have a mental block just around the idea of it being glass and like
Yeah.
being like, what if I'm the one person that it shatters into a million
Yeah.
pieces inside of, you know?
They do have some really fun textures, though. They have
Yeah.
a really fun butt one that's like a crank.
Like a wait.
Like it's shaped like that. You have like the standard tip, and then
Uh-huh.
it's a corkscrew, and then on the end of it, there's a flange with like a little handle that you can crank, so it can go in like this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn. We're learning so much
Yeah.
today.
I am so vanilla. Like, yeah, my mind is blown right now.
Are there other tips that you have for like using toys aside from the magic wand? Like, okay, the holding with your feet thing. Never would have thought of that. Are there other tricks like that like you think most people don't know?
I mean, all of the rest of them seem pretty self-explanatory. Like getting a dildo with a suction cup base that you can stick to the wall or stick to the shower floor or things like that. That way you can use it hands-free. Also, if you don't have one, and it's kind of like very porn-esque, getting like a fucking machine, highly recommend, because that's all like hands-free.
Yeah.
And they are amazing. I got one last year, and I can't live without it now.
How big is it though?
Mine's tiny. It's super compact. I got it on Amazon for $80.
Oh.
Yeah. The downside of that is all of the attachments are like jelly based,
Oh.
but condoms. I buy condoms
Yeah.
every month specifically for my sex toys, and it's glorious. But yeah,
The only reason I know about those machines is from the movie Thank You for Smoking.
I've never heard of that movie.
And George Clooney makes one, remember?
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie in so long. I really like that movie though.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
gonna
good
go home and watch
movie.
it tonight.
He makes a fucking machine in the movie, and you don't know that that's what he's making for like a long time, and then it finally happens. But yeah, I'm surprised. That's one where I'm like surprised that you actually like it, and it's not more just like for show, for the male gaze, you know?
Oh yeah, no. I think my husband's seen me use it once.
Really?
Yeah, it's totally like a me thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense since it's like you said, it's fully hands free, so you can just.
Yep. And
Yeah.
if you position your feet the right way, you can also hold your wand up with your feet while you're getting penetrated by the machine, and it is
Using your wand and the machine?
yeah.
That sounds like an
It's like
ab
a
workout.
30-second orgasm. It's glorious. And
Okay, and then you're just done?
then I'm just done.
Yeah.
And then I clean up and wash all my toys.
Wow.
So I feel like it sounds like we all need to be getting more creative with how we use our toys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Try different things. If
Yeah.
it doesn't work, try something else. And if it does
Okay.
work, put a bookmark in it and then try something else. Because yeah, the things that you can learn to do.
I have a question for you. Not about sex toys, about orgasming.
Yeah.
But I feel like you might be able to answer this because you're so knowledgeable now with your
Yeah,
blog.
she's a wealth
Yeah.
of wisdom.
I am okay. So, and I talked about this, but like, I just like cannot orgasm more than once. Like, I feel like I'll orgasm once, and then I'm numbed out, and it's like too painful. Is that like, am I just in the category of people that can only just do it once, and then I have to wait multiple hours, or is there things I can do to be able to orgasm more than once?
There's definitely things you can try. I am also usually in that category of I
Okay.
can only, especially if it's clitoral stimulation that caused me to orgasm. If you try to touch my clit after I've come the first time, I'm done. Like, don't fucking touch me.
Yeah.
But alternating between like clitoral stimulation and internal stimulation is a way that I can make it happen. But like, you cannot go anywhere near my clit.
Okay.
It has to be like solid internal penetration. If you're into anal sex, switching to anal sex for a bit because you're already so turned on at that point that things are super relaxed back there.
Mm-hmm.
You can have an anal orgasm, and then you can have a vaginal orgasm, and then you can have a clitoral orgasm, and then there you go. There's 3 right there.
Wow. Okay.
So you're able to have like an orgasm from just anal penetration or just vaginal penetration.
yeah.
Did that take practice to get
Yep.
there?
I took a lot of self-pleasuring to learn like where those points are to hit
Yeah.
because most guys can't just hit them on their own.
Yeah. What do you have to do just vaginal without any clitoral?
It's a position thing for me. I have
Okay.
to be like, I have to be in doggy, like fully bent over, like porn star arching kind of situation, and I have to be like rubbing up against it. Like my pubic bone has to be like rubbing up against his pubic bone in order
Yeah.
for not his pubic bone, his ball sack in order for me to
Yeah.
do it because it helps like start to stimulate clitoral stuff, but it's not so intense that I'm like, it's almost like edging for me.
Yeah.
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 But
It's like a light orgasm.
yeah, it like makes everything more intense down there. But also, being with a guy that's too big can prevent you from orgasming like vaginally because all of your nerve endings are in the first like inch and a half of your vagina. So if he's just pounding your like cervix, you're not gonna
Yeah.
you're not gonna get pleasure out of it. Most people, there are people that do have cervical orgasms. I cannot imagine that, but it does happen.
Sounds really intense.
Yeah.
What about anal orgasms? Is there like a specific position for that?
No, it's just being excited enough
Yeah.
and them doing the right things. Like, you can't just go in dry. Like, it's got to be prepped first.
Yeah.
But if you do ever, like, all of your prep work correctly, the anal orgasms are pretty intense.
I've only ever had clitoral orgasms, I guess. I mean, I have squirted from like my G spot, but that's more like a performance. I feel like that's like a show. It's
Yeah.
not like the feeling isn't like this overwhelming feeling like an orgasm is,
Yeah.
you know?
For sure.
Um,
But most women are like that. Most women can only orgasm clitorally.
yeah.
No matter what they do.
Yeah.
I also have like, I have like one of those like rabbit toys where it's it's like a dildo, but it also has like a clit stimulator, but the clit stimulator is so small. It's like this like tiny little thing for like, you know, someone with like a very delicate like clit that isn't surrounded by huge labia. And I feel like it's like I really want that toy to work because I like the idea of having both at the same time, but it's like not quite right. But I feel like this idea of like using the wand, I haven't tried like using the wand and combining it with other things. So I think that like needs to be the next thing.
Have you bought attachments for your wand yet?
There's attachments?
Yes, what? And they're all silicone based, at least the ones that I've seen. They have like a full on cap that you can add to the top of your wand that has a penetrating piece to it and also a nub on the end, so you can get both internal and external stimulation with the wand vibrations all at the same time.
Literally adding that to cart right now. My obsession next week.
Okay, I'm gonna get this because I've been wanting to get a rabbit toy, but I feel like I just didn't know like which one to get, and I've been like I went to the internet, right, and I was looking, and I was like, there's too many options, and I'm overwhelmed, and then I got off. So
yeah, rabbit toys are. I'm not a fan of any rabbit toys that I've ever tried. They like hit the wrong places. I don't know. I know that I have weird anatomy, but like even the women that I've been with, like nobody that I know is like, oh, I want to use this rabbit toy right now. Like everybody is just like anti-rabbit toy that has tried it because it just doesn't hit in the right spot. It's made for one specific type of female anatomy, and if your clit's not a half an inch away from your vaginal opening, it's just not going to hit the right spaces.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe I don't need one then.
No.
All right.
Get a wand and an attachment.
Okay.
And you were going like this, like the attachment's like curved, which I feel
It is curved, yeah.
It's better than just like this straight up and down like dildo situation.
Yes, and the makers of this attachment were amazing. At least the one that I have, because it's curved, but also the top of it is like, it's like wider and flat, so it can hit your G-spot when you're using it and not have like the weird like extra pointy bump. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but like if the point of like attraction between my toy and my G-spot is pointy, it just doesn't happen. It just feels like I'm getting stabbed.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the wand attachment is flat like a plane, and it just hits all the right spots.
I'm so excited to try this.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy the wand as soon as we're done podcasting.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
It's life changing. I need to buy the rechargeable one too,
Yes.
because that cord, man, it really cramps my style. We
And
don't have a
the
lot
battery
of outlets in our
lasts for
bedroom.
forever.
Really?
I charge my wand like twice a month, and I use it daily.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, should we switch to our second round of questions?
Yeah, our second topic.
Okay, so another reason that we really wanted to talk to you and have you on the pod is that we know from, you know, like just being in the group together and all the things that we talk about our like love lives and stuff, that you are would you call yourself in an open marriage or polyamorous?
We classify ourselves as ethically non-monogamous.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we tried the poly thing for the first couple years of our relationship, and it was just too messy for me. Like there were just too many moving parts, and I was like, I can't keep like doing this.
Yeah. So what is the difference between being poly and being ethically non-monogamous?
So polyamorous is where you accept additional relationships into your marriage or your like main relationship. Or if you're like kitchen table poly, everybody has equal rights in the relationships, but it's basically just multiple feeling involved relationships.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yes, it is. And most poly people will tell you that it is constant work, but they love doing it because you bring in so much more love into your life. Totally respect that. It was just too much for me. Ethical non-monogamy for us means that we have the ability to sleep with other people outside of our relationship without like bringing in emotion. So for us, it's just a casual sex thing.
Okay.
For me personally, I really don't care to know like what your name is or what your background is, as long as I know that you don't have an STD and I'm gonna make it home that night. That's all that I care about.
Yeah. So how did you go from like being in this relationship where you got together when you were pretty young to like now being, you know, ethically non-monogamous and like having lots of sexual partners?
So it started with my first husband because when we got together, I was 19 and I had only had, I lost my virginity at 18. I had 6 partners between 18 and 19 when I got with my husband. And at that point, I was still in the mindset of when you marry somebody, you're with that person for the rest of your life. It's monogamous. I didn't understand why somebody would want to like sleep outside of their marriage, and like cheating was horrible and blah, blah, blah. But then 4 years into our marriage, I was like, I really miss women. Like I love you and what you bring to the table, but I miss boobs and I miss the soft curves of a woman. And so we started exploring like what that would look like if we started delving into that, because he was of the mindset of, if you're going to play, I want to play. And in my mind, I was fighting between like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that's only fair. But also, I don't want another woman touching my man. And like, how do we play on that? And I had spoken to a couple of people who were like, oh, well, my husband just likes to watch. And I was like, why can't you just want to watch? I was like, because that's not fair. If you're going to touch another woman, I want to touch another woman. And we just talked about it for like a year. And I met a guy actually on an app called Whisper. Do you guys remember the app called Whisper?
No. What is this app?
It was an app that was like all inspirational quotes, or like people could make their own quotes, and it would be like, oh, I really miss this guy in my life, and why can't he come back to me? And like very early 2000s meme-esque, like Vine, but in meme form, but also inspirational quote form. I don't know, it was weird.
Like Tumblr meets Vine.
Basically.
Yeah.
And you could comment on people's like posts or whatever. And I don't even remember the post that it happened on, but I started talking to this guy that lived in the same tiny town that we did, and absolutely adored talking to him. He was like a wealth of knowledge. And so we met with our kids at a park, just happened to meet at the park and be like, oh, I totally know you. And started talking, and I found out that he and his wife were swingers. And didn't know what that was at the time. So I started researching the hell out of it. And I met his wife and was like, oh, you're really hot. My husband would probably absolutely love you. So we arranged a chance encounter for them. And my husband at the time was still very like, his ex-wife was like, he couldn't look at a hot woman in a movie without her like getting onto him. So he had like a lot of trauma from that. So he came home from that chance meeting and was like, I have something like to tell you, and I know you're gonna get mad. And he started talking about her, and I was like, oh really, like tell me more about this person. Like, should we meet? Should we all talk and hang out? And like a week later we went to their house and had sex with each other, and it was absolutely amazing, and I was hooked. Like that first time I was absolutely hooked. Fun fact, we learned a position from that guy that I still use today, and he still uses with his partners, and we call it the Dave, and it's hilarious.
What is it?
What's the Dave?
So it's for guys that have very curved penises, and as the person being penetrated, you're laying on your back with your legs in the froggy position too. So like feet together, knees out, but your feet are like up as close to your chest as you can get.
Okay.
And then the curve, like your body creates that curve naturally, so it doesn't hurt him going into you, and it makes it feel better for you because they're not fighting against your anatomy.
Wait,
Glorious.
so you're laying down in froggy, but you said your knees are up, so your feet are up too?
But your feet are up. Yeah, your knees are out.
Your knees, but
you're
your
like
feet
this.
are not laying on the. You're like
like
that.
that. Yeah,
Happy baby,
and
almost like a modified.
he's holding your feet together, so
Got
you don't
it.
have to stress about that. But yeah,
Does it ever fuck up your hip flexor?
it doesn't mind. But I also have like my hips are like my most flexible part of me.
Okay.
So
After you have
stretch.
sex, do you just have to lay there because your hip flexors need like an hour to recover?
I've been getting a lot of, so I think TikTok knows, and I've been getting a lot of content on TikTok about how to strengthen your hip flexors instead of stretching them, and I think that's what I need to start doing, because like it's this one hip flexor, and it's like constantly, I go months where it's like in so much pain, and then I have like 2 weeks where I'm like, it fixed itself, and then I'll do a posing challenge in the studio, and then it's like fucked up again, or I pick up the baby in a weird way, or just something happens, and I think I need to literally start working out my hip flexors.
Yeah. Well, you know what also helps with hip flexors is doing clamshells and like strengthening the side of your butt.
Yeah.
That helps, because like sometimes your hip flexors overcompensate for that muscle.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Also, you should try the chiropractor because, sorry, I know we're getting derailed.
No, tell me.
And not ethical non-monogamy, but when I used to have like this one hip flexor that would bother me all the time. And when I started going to the chiropractor, she told me that my hips were twisted. So like one hip was getting rotated back, so it was pulling more on that hip flexor. And so she just pushes my butt down basically, and it like pops that hip back so that they're like, even. And then, like, the pain is gone because my hip is where it's supposed to be.
I'm signing up right now.
So, yeah, you might have that. Or, like, sometimes if one leg gets, like, like rotated up, then that can also like cause pain on your hip flexor. So like she might need to like pull your leg, and like if it's in the wrong position, like just like little tiny things like that can cause like a lot of stress on
No,
the
I'm
muscle.
going. It's literally been years that I've had this ongoing hip flexor issue.
Yeah, you need to just try the chiropractor and see if they're like, oh, you're just out of alignment.
Okay, I'm going.
Also, you can use your wand to massage that when it's starting to hurt.
My personal massager.
Yeah,
your personal massager.
It
yes.
makes a great like back massager too.
Okay,
Amazing.
I actually have a friend who uses her Theragun as a magic wand.
So
When she
intense.
told me that, I made that same face. I was like, dude, that is not okay. Like, I'm worried
I feel
about
like I'd
you.
like break my pubic bone. Like that.
Side
sounds so
story
intense.
on that topic. I was at a hotel and didn't have my wand with me, but my husband had his Theragun with him, and I was like, this will be fine. I can use this. I had a bruised pubic bone for 3 weeks. I was like, that is not worth it.
It's
I
like
can just wait a night and then go back home.
It's like getting punched.
Yes.
Like, which I'm sure is someone's kink, but
Yeah.
like not mine.
Nope.
Maybe if you put a pillow over it, so it was like it was like hitting the pillow really hard, but then you were just on the other side of the pillow. You know, so like the pillow was taking the brunt of the force if you really needed to. But like
I feel like I could just use my fingers at that. Like, I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
acoustic at that point.
The Theragun is like, it's scary. Like when you just see it, like it isn't. Remember when we had Amanda use it on her neck once and she put it on her jaw?
Oh no! I have a video of it. I'll show you.
I thought her
this.
jaw was gonna break off. I was
Yeah.
like a little scared.
Oh my gosh.
It was really scary.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry. We need to go back to so the froggy position is what we were talking about.
Yes.
The Dave.
Yeah,
And
the
hooking
Dave.
up with this other couple.
And hooking up with a couple, yeah. So we hooked up with them like 5 or 6 times, and they introduced us to different websites like Cassidy and the Swing site, super original. And we just we made it a point to set some rules and boundaries, because they told us that's the only way that it worked, is by setting some boundaries. So it was like, for my husband, it was not sleeping with a bunch of couples that had guys that were bigger than him, because he is not the most endowed down there. He's got plenty, in my personal opinion, but he's always had an issue with it. And then like not spending the night with another couple. Like we always came back home and did our own thing in bed, or like any conversations that we had were group conversations, and not like taking off and having our own individual conversations with people, just so everybody was communicating about the same things and like that kind of thing. And also, the biggest one I think for us was, if we were ever in a situation and one of us was uncomfortable, we could stop it immediately and the other person wouldn't like make us feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And we were in a couple of those positions of like, I was really into it, and in the moment he was like, I'm not feeling this, and we ended it, and the other couple would get really offended, and it's like, well, we're not going to jeopardize our marriage over another couple when
Yeah.
Were you having group sex, or were you swapping partners at this point?
It was a partner swap thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you swap partners in the same room?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's the same room swap is what it was called back in the day. I don't know if that's still the jam.
Yeah.
And that's what swinging is, right? It's partner swapping,
Yeah,
basically.
wife
but
swapping,
doing it
but yeah.
together. Yeah.
Exactly. And we never really branched out from that together. I will fully admit that towards the end of our relationship, I was just kind of over it and did my own thing without his knowledge. Highly recommend you don't do that. Just throwing that out there.
Because at that point, you're cheating.
You're cheating, 100% cheating.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for that. And it's all like communication and trust based, and that's where our relationship went wrong. But he came to me one day and was just like, I'm not comfortable doing it anymore. I want to stop. And that originally was one of our boundaries of like, when one of us wants to stop, we're done. But I could not stop at that point. In my mind, it was like, why would you want to have sex with the same person every day for the rest of your life when there's so many other choices out here? Because when I met him, he was my 6th partner, male partner. And I had learned a lot in those 6 people, but when I met him, it was very vanilla. Like, we did the same things every time. And then when we started branching out and sleeping with other people, we were both learning so many new things. And we would take those things and implement them in our sex, like just one-on-one, and it made it so much better. And I was like, why would we want to stop learning and growing when we can continuously build like this amazing sex life? And he was like, I'm done. And I could not be done. And that was kind of like the start of the fall for us. Like, we went to couples counseling, we tried to make things work, and he had lost his job at that point, and I was taking on like more and more of those kind of duties, and there was a lot of mental health issues happening on his side, and it just like tumbled to the point where we didn't stay together. And then when my current husband and I met, he was my boss at Taco Bell. And we were closing one night. We were closing one night, and out of nowhere he was like, I've never slept with a coworker. And I was like, that's a weird thing to talk about. And that night I was at his house at 3:00 in the morning after we closed.
You were like, say less.
Right, yeah. Like, I had just left my husband. We were still living together, and I was horny.
Did you, like, have a crush on this guy?
No, I actually hated him.
Oh.
I was hired to get him fired.
Wow.
Like, that was my sole purpose at that job. So it was like, you know, I was going to make the most out of this situation while I had it.
Hate sex is fun.
100%. Yeah. And so we did our thing. And then afterwards he was like, we should continue doing this thing. And I was like, okay, but like, I'm freshly out of my marriage. I have zero interest in being in a relationship with anybody. Like, my boundaries are I don't cuddle after sex, because cuddling leads to emotions, which leads to a bond. And that's just not my jam. If at any point in time any of us get feelings for one another, it ends immediately, because I don't want a relationship. I've never been an adult outside of a relationship, and I want to explore that part of me. And he's like, that's fine. And that was like it. Like, you can do your thing, I can do my thing, as long as we're both safe with other people. Like, I don't want to get an STD or whatever. And we did that for like 8 months or so. And then he was like, so we should do the relationship thing. And I was like, ooh, we should not do the relationship thing. But in my mind, I had already fallen in love with him. Okay. Like, he had met my kids, and my youngest at the time was not even 2 years old yet. And she hated people. Like, if it wasn't me or her dad, she didn't want anything to do with them. And the moment he came into the house, she was in his arms and they were dancing. And it was at that moment that I was like, damn. This is going to be bad.
Yeah.
But I was hell-bent on not having a relationship. So I put it off again for a while. And then he brought up, like, polyamory to me. And I was like, okay, that I can probably get down with that. So we tried that for a couple of months. He had me and another partner who happened to be a coworker of ours. I started a trend, I guess. And I met my second partner, Sierra. Fun fact, Sierra. Sierra with an E, though, not an A.
Yeah.
And things were great for like 2 months, and then things just started getting really messy, and like a lot of mental health issues would pop into play with like his partner, and my partner was very jealous and was digging up old skeletons from his closet to try to get me to leave him, and it was just not my jam. And so we both left our respective partners, and I was like, if we're going to do this, we need to focus on each other. But also, I can't just have sex with you. Like, we have to have the ability to, like, sleep with other people. And he's like, no, that's perfectly fine. So it evolved from us just being, like, fucking buddies to being a part of, like, a quad, basically, like 4 people, to just being us again. And then COVID hit. And COVID destroyed my sex life. And I've been trying to rebuild it ever since, but... Yeah, so it's at this point in our relationship, we have the option to like go out and do whatever we want, but we very rarely do because it's COVID.
Yeah. And you're busy. You've got
oh my god, I'm so busy.
You work a lot, and you have 2 kids, and
it's insane.
But yeah. And how do you usually find partners now when you do like find someone else that you want to hook up with?
Honestly, Tinder or FetLife.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard because especially in the area where we're at, which is a tiny town, like everybody wants a relationship. Yeah. Even if it's, like we can be a triad. It's like, no, I don't. That's not what I want. And I'm very explicit on my profile. That's like the first thing in all my profiles of, we are a couple. We are not adding to this. No offense to you. Like, we're not unicorn hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just casual sex. That's it. Yeah. Nothing else. And people don't like that where we're at. Yeah. So it's very difficult. The guys do, but I'm less interested in finding another male partner because I have an amazing male partner. But the girls are like, we want a relationship.
Yeah.
Warm fuzzies.
Totally.
Like, no, whips and chains.
And you've also started doing rope recently,
yes.
Right?
Yeah. I've been begging my partner for like 3 years to learn, and it's just not his jam, apparently. Mm-hmm. So I was like, fine, I'm going to do it myself. Like, I've bought rope for us so many times, and it ends up being used when we move or something like that. I was like, no, this time I'm going to make use of it. And so I started teaching myself.
And you've been tying yourself up.
Yep.
How does that work? Like, do you ever like? I guess you just can't you can't get yourself in a situation that you can't get out of.
Right, yeah. I have to be very careful the way that I tie myself. But I also typically do it while he's sleeping next to me. So if I do get myself in a position where I, tangle myself or whatever, I can just kick him and wake him up and be like, hey, help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell's going on here? Like,
Yeah, no, he woke up like that a couple days ago, where he woke up and he looked over at me and he's like, what are you doing? Because I was like trying the tie where like my one leg was up like this and attached to my thigh. I can't remember the name of it. There's like fancy names for it. And I was like on my side, like breathing into his ear while trying to tie, and like he wakes up and he's like, what is happening? What are you doing? Like, you just go back to sleep. Let me do my jam.
I feel like I know the answer to this, but I'm just curious. Do you ever get jealous of like your husband, or did you ever get jealous of your ex-husband back in the day?
So with my ex-husband, no, I never got jealous. I used to say that jealousy was not a word in my vocabulary. Yeah. And I read like the book Ethical Slut, highly recommend if you haven't read it yet, which talks about jealousy and like healthy jealousy or whatever. And I was just like, oh no, that's just not my jam. And I didn't start getting jealous until I was with my current husband. And like I would want to have time with him, and he had already scheduled time with somebody else. And I'm like, but I want you now. So that would create some jealousy. But it's not like I'm not going to stop him from doing his thing, because it's something that he enjoys doing and it benefits me in the end.
Yeah.
So it's when that happens, it's a lot of for me just like going back inside and being like, why am I feeling this feeling? What's sparking it? Is it just me wanting more of his time? And if it is, then how do I make that happen outside of this situation? And like a lot of just introspective kind of internal journaling, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you find usually is kind of like the root cause, or like the thing you need to address when you have that feeling?
Usually it's me not feeling like I'm getting enough attention.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, because I'm literally sitting next to him 24 hours a day.
But there is something about like, you can be sitting next to someone, but if you're not like having quality time, or, like, it's still like we could sit on the couch together and watch a show and like be on our phones and stuff, and then like 2 hours later get up and I'm like, oh, like I haven't spent any time with you actually.
Yeah, like you're not connecting with each other.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it ends up being like, okay, because I feel like this is something I've been told to do in therapy, is like give myself kind of like the not attention, but like nurture myself the way I wish like I maybe had been nurtured in like certain situations in the past or whatever, like when I was growing up or whatever. And like I like a lot of the time the things that I want from other people that are not realistic are things that I need to like learn how to give myself, which is really hard. But is it kind of like that for you, or is it more like, no, I really do just need to be like connecting with him more and being more intentional with our time together?
I think it's more the latter.
Yeah.
In our situation specifically, because I do a lot of like work on at least in the last couple of years, I've done a lot of work on myself and like addressing childhood traumas and things that I went through as a kid. And I've started like this really amazing self-care journey of like taking myself places instead of waiting for somebody else to take me to those places. And
which I love.
I love that
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah.
And like experiencing things that I never thought that I would get to experience because my partner didn't want to go do those things. So I don't think it's that at all. I think a lot of it is just, I want like one-on-one intimate attention where it's just the two of us. And if I'm not getting it in that moment and you're going to be with somebody else, like why? Like why can't I have that moment with you? Is where my mind goes. But then he comes home and we have like amazing moments together. And I'm like, why was I being a bitch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your guys' moments together are better after one of you has gone out and like had like sex outside the marriage and comes back, and then you're like, it makes you more excited about each other?
I think so, yeah. I'd say probably 80% of the time I would say that, because most of the time we're learning something new from whoever it is that we were with, and then we bring that back and we just kind of ride that high of like, oh, I just learned this amazing new thing, let me try it out with you. And it's always amazing, when we do it that way. But yeah.
Do you guys have rules about like, when you are hooking up with somebody else, is it always outside of your home, or can you bring that person to your home?
It's never at our home because we have the kids.
Yeah, okay.
And like with my ex-husband, we had our kids then too, but they were young and like they would go to sleep and we would bring people over and like they would be in our bedroom only and they would leave before the kids would come out. But now our kids are older and they're nosy as fuck.
Yeah.
So like anytime anybody is over, they hear a voice that they don't recognize. They're like, "What's going on in here? Why are we not a part of this?" So
Yeah.
Do they know?
Yeah, do they know?
yeah, they do.
They do. Okay.
And that's one thing my oldest has started talking about in her therapy. I found out is that she, in her mind, because of her my grandparents, her great grandparents, like talking to her from such a young age, she's like, I don't understand why you need to bring other people into your relationship. I don't understand that. And it's like, well, yeah, you're 10.
Yeah.
You shouldn't understand that yet. But I want you to be exposed to these things because I was raised in a very Southern Baptist household where it's like you marry the guy that you end up with for the rest of your life. And it's always a male-female relationship because if you deviate away from that, you're going to hell. And I want her to understand, like my youngest, I want them to understand that there are so many options out there and you shouldn't be limited to that one belief. You want to grow up and be poly? Great. You want to grow up and be asexual and just do your own thing? Great. I don't care, but I want you to be you and not some version of you that a religion tells you that you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you like to be able to choose instead of just doing one thing because you think it's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, like we had a talk about sexuality a few months ago because she came to me and she was like, I'm so confused because I have these feelings for my friend that's a girl and grandma said that I shouldn't be feeling these things. And I was like, actually, grandma can shut up because this is completely normal. And like explaining to her that in my mind, at least, sexuality is a spectrum and you fall on that spectrum in different places every single day. One day you might wake up and be like, oh, I'm more attracted to girls today. And the next day you might wake up and be like, oh, I'm more attracted to this person who doesn't identify as either, but they're amazing and I love them. And it's going to be changing your entire life. It's never going to be one stationary thing. Mm-hmm. And you just have to kind of flow with it and accept that part of you and celebrate it.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like this, like Sammy and I were kind of talking about this morning, but we were talking about like the kids that are being raised now, like so differently from like our generation and generations before us. Like it's going to be so interesting to see in 20 years, like what these kids are like as adults. Like, because I feel like there's so many parents now who are being like so intentional about like, I'm going to expose my kids to lots of things. I'm going to like, I want them to have options. I don't want them to just like do what society tells them to do. There's also like a lot of people doing like the gentle parenting thing. And I'm just like so curious to see like what this generation is going to be like when they grow up.
Yeah. I'm equally excited and terrified.
Yeah, same. It could go like either way.
I'm hopeful, but cautiously, because I am not a gentle parent by any means, and so that portion of it scares me. But I'm hopeful.
But you're still like giving. I feel like you're still, I don't know, being more like open with your kids than like, you know, our boomer parents were with us.
Some would probably say too open, but I want them to be prepared. Like I was not anticipating having conversations with my 10-year-old that I've had to have, but she's being exposed to things that I wasn't exposed to until much later. Mm-hmm. It's like going with that flow of like, oh, well, I can't have these expectations of you that I had because your world is much different than my world.
Well, yeah, and they can like find anything on the internet or like, you know, it's like you want them to hear that stuff from you and not from like whatever random fucking weird YouTube video they watch.
Exactly.
Like, it's like you can lock it down in your home too, but then it's like, okay, they go to school. Like there's other kids. If those kids don't have lockdown things, like those kids learn about it. They tell your kid, they're telling your kid completely wrong information. It's like, yeah, you want to be that source of like factual knowledge.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Like I swear for the longest time, this is so embarrassing, I literally believed that you could get pregnant from a blowjob. Like, if you swallowed it. And
no.
like not that, like, swallowing it would do it, but it's, like, if a weird thing happened where there was, like, a whole, like, something happened to your stomach, and so it was just, like, I was just, like, there has to be some edge case where it's, like, it's possible. Like, and I was... like in high school probably believing this, like so embarrassing.
So did you did not get blowjobs, or you're like, I don't swallow?
No, I did it just like it wasn't like a thing of like it happens 100%. It was just like I was like, there has to be an edge case where it's possible, you know? Or like if like you're hooking up and like sperm gets on his hand and he's fingering you, like you can get pregnant, or like things like that where it's like it's not actually how it works. Like
it's like so much harder to get pregnant than all of us grew up believing.
Yes.
I literally thought you could get pregnant like that. Like I just thought any small thing and like you would be pregnant immediately, and then I like actually learned about how it works when we were trying to have our baby, and I like realized how small the window is and how it actually works, and it was like I was embarrassed. It's like I'm 30, like learning how that like truly how this works and what this window is and what this looks like, and it's like sad that you don't get told that in middle school, in high school, when you do learn about it in sex ed, because I would have sex, I would be on birth control, have sex with a condom, like they would come inside me, but like condom, I'd be on birth control, and I'd still be so paranoid that I would go take Plan B. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. And it's because I was like, no, I can still get pregnant because we had sex.
Yeah. Side note, my first child was conceived while I was on birth control, and he was wearing a condom.
What?
Yeah.
And this is...
and like, not to terrify you or anything.
Like that. And I'm like, okay, but then how come I have friends who've been like, having sex every day for 2 years trying to get pregnant? Like, it's so fucking weird.
Yeah. Well, my second child, we tried for 3 years to have her, like, intentionally trying. And I was like, how the hell did we do this on birth control with a condom? And then, you know, naturally my grandparents were like, it's immaculate. Like, God wanted her to be here. And I was like, no, I was probably just on antibiotics or something and the condom tore. Like, let's be realistic.
Or it was like, you know, peak ovulation window. Like, what? It's like, there's obviously, like, things that went into it, like that it like made it work. It's like it is possible. It's just like, I mean, like people will get pregnant on the IUD, right? It's like it's not 100%, but it's like it's so rare, and it has to hit this like specific window. But like
the stars definitely have to align.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I definitely believed the like sperm on his hand, like dried cum anywhere. If it somehow got inside of you, you could get pregnant.
If it got within like 6 inches of my vagina, I was like, no, I for sure am pregnant.
I took a lot of Plan B in high school too for that those same fears.
See, that's part of the reason I was happy that I didn't lose my virginity until I was 18. I never had to worry about that.
Yeah, I know, it's so funny, like, to be a late bloomer, but then you also are, I feel like probably all of your sex was like so much better because you weren't doing it like when you're as young and dumb. I
was still pretty young and dumb. I still am dumb in a lot of cases. Do you guys remember what your first time was like?
Yeah, I do. It was like it was very quick. It was all missionary. I just kind of laid there trying to be sexy and like make sexy noises, but it didn't like feel good. And I was sort of like, okay, like is this really it? Like, is this what it's all about? And like, I didn't have an orgasm for like several years after I first started having sex because I didn't know how.
Mine was recorded. And I didn't know about it until about 8 years later.
What?
On purpose or accident?
No, he recorded it on purpose. Yeah, he sent me the footage of it like 8 years after that. He's like, oh, I found this on my camera. Do you want it? And I started watching it, and I was like, that was the first time we had sex. He's like, yeah, I had the camera up. And I was like, you didn't tell me you had the camera up.
Yeah.
That's like illegal.
That's like not okay.
Really bad.
It was an interesting experience. But then watching it back, I was like, wow, look at me go. Just laying there with like this look on my face. Because I remember like as it was happening, like initially, the only thought going through my mind was, yes, I'm not going to die a virgin. It's the only thing that I was thinking of. Yeah. And then like, it was a long ass video. It was like 3.5 hours long. And I don't remember it being that long.
What?
Were you having sex that whole time?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So, like, I clearly blacked out at some point, because you could see I was, like, done at one point.
Were you drunk?
No, I was completely sober.
Wow.
Because I was only 18. And I was a good girl and didn't drink.
I feel like that'd be so painful.
It was, yes. And he was a very large individual. And, yeah, it was very awkward to watch of that whole situation. Yeah. Highly recommend not recording.
I can't even have 3 hours of sex now. Like that's like,
oh my God, 3 hours of sex now, and I would be. I like tap out after 20 minutes.
Yes.
I'm like, nope. If you can't do it by now, we're just not going.
I do remember my first one hurt so bad that I can't imagine it extending to 3 hours. Like I don't think I would have stopped it. I would like. There's no way. Like I would have died. Like
I was also like by this point I was 100% addicted to porn. I watched porn constantly, so I was like, oh, this is what happens because porn's so choppy, and you're like, they clearly cut out a bunch of this to make a 20-minute video, so it's just, this is what happens. And he had come like 4 times or something like that during that time period.
What?
Yeah, the guy, I mean, he knew his business. But the entire time you could see on my face where I'm like, is it over yet?
You're just like eyes glazed over.
Yeah, like I clearly checked out multiple times. And like he would go to change positions and I'd be like, oh, okay, this is what's happening now. Like, okay, I can do this. I've seen this in porn. I know what to do. Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds fucking exhausting.
Yeah, that sounds really bad.
It was exhausting watching it back because I was a lot older watching it back. And I'm like, why? And he was 32, fun fact at the time. So I was like looking back at it, knowing that, I'm like, how are you 32 and being able to do that for that long? Clearly had to have taken something.
Yeah.
Like clearly.
Yeah. I feel like a guy has to be on Viagra to do something like that.
Or maybe he used that desensitizing lube.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think we should go into our obsessions?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
I will
since
start.
You've
Yes.
prepped? Okay.
I have been practicing this since you asked me to come on the pod. I got it down to 2, but I'm now down to 1, and it's the I think it's called Roja's street corn dip from Costco.
Oh.
Yeah. It only comes out during a certain point of the year. Right now's that time.
Okay.
And it is the most delicious thing I've ever put in my mouth, which is saying something given
She's had a lot of things in her mouth.
I've had a lot of things in my mouth. It is like, it's super low in carbs and it's freaking delicious. It's got a little bit of spice to it, super creamy, little like chunks of sweet corn. So you get the spice and the creaminess and like a little bit of sweetness every now and then. You can eat it with chips. You can put it like on a wrap for like a spread on a wrap. It is literally delicious. And I've already gone through an entire Costco container of it in like 2 days.
Is it cheesy?
It is cheesy. Yeah, it's got
Okay.
cojita cheese in it.
Okay.
So good. Like if you like elote, you will love Mexican street corn dip.
Okay.
So good.
I gotta try this.
Yeah.
Okay, I love Costco, so...
Me too.
Any
We're
reason to go
Kirkland
to
girls.
Costco, yeah.
Okay. That was a good one.
That was a really
I'm
good one.
excited to try that.
Okay, my obsession is that recently I got some sourdough starter from a friend, and I am babying my sourdough starter right now, and I'm going to start making sourdough bread. And I've never done this before, so during the pandemic, I was never like one of the bread people. So it's my first time, but I follow this this girl on Instagram who I used to work with like way back in the day, like when I was in high school, like we worked together, and she just has like this very picturesque life on Instagram where she makes sourdough bread literally every day and like all this amazing food, and she just like posts her like food videos, and it like she's not even like an influencer, like she has like just like a normal person account, you know, but like all her videos looks like an influencer's making. Like she makes incredible looking videos and all her food looks so good. And she'll post these videos of her like cutting the sourdough bread and opening it, and the steam like comes up onto the camera, and she like slathers her butter on it, and every time I let it like fall into my phone because I'm like, I need this. So soon I will become this person. But right now my starter is growing, so I'm very excited.
I'm so excited for you.
I will share my bread when I make it.
When you make your first loaf, also make homemade butter, because homemade butter with homemade sourdough is like the epitome of heaven.
And then bring it to my house.
Yes.
You have to make it on podcast.
I will. I can do it in the blender, right?
Butter in the blender? Maybe.
You have a mixer, right?
You have a mixer.
Yeah, you can just turn on your mixer, pour heavy cream into it, and
Okay.
like turn on the mixer until it turns into
it'll,
butter.
Yeah, it'll
Like my
separate
kitchen.
and make
Okay.
And then you make sure you add salt, because unsalted butter is disgusting.
Yeah.
Add salt, and then you're good to go.
Okay, I'm gonna do this.
Wow, my mouth is fucking watering.
I will invite you. I will invite you for. Let me make like a couple loaves first to make sure I can do it. But then when I like have a good loaf, I'll invite you, and then we can eat it together. Okay.
Okay, my obsession for the week is the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. It's a makeup primer that I feel like I've seen everybody use like on social media. Like it's a very popular one, and I just haven't had a primer in a long time because I just get really lazy sometimes, and I don't replace things, or like I'll just like work with what I have and like forget that like it could be better if I had the right products. And so I like haven't had a primer for a long time, and I decided that I'm trying to like level up my like long wearing makeup game, because I find like I have mascara and eyeliner that I like that's long wearing, but like I feel like my face comes off by the end of the day, especially if I'm at the studio and I'm shooting or I'm assisting and I'm like moving around a lot and like sweating, whatever, putting the camera up against my face, and I'm like trying to find new products that'll like really last all day, because like I'm spending a lot of money on this shit. I spend a lot of time getting ready in the morning. I want it to fucking last. So I got this primer because Victoria, our makeup artist, uses it, and she really likes it. And then I saw that Catherine also uses it, another one of our makeup artists. So I was like, okay, these girlies know their shit. I got it. And I feel like it really has helped my makeup last a lot longer. And like, as someone with like acne and like acne marks on my face, I feel like those are the first things that start to show when my makeup wears off, like those red marks.
Same.
And like, I feel like I've been noticing like by the end of the day, my makeup is not as fresh as it was at the beginning of the day, but like it feels a lot less worn off. It's not like, oh, it's just my naked skin by the end of the day, you know? So like, I feel like the primer has kind of like added long wearing time to like all my stuff. And it also makes my face feel really, really smooth. So like putting on foundation and concealer on top of it, it's very like, it sits really nicely. And like, I have really dry, flaky skin. So like, if I feel like you don't see the like flakes as much on like my foundation. So that's been my new thing. I've been using it like every day. And I really like it so far.
Okay, so as someone also with acne, do you feel like is it making acne worse at all? Like, is there anything in it that...
Well, I did get 2 giant fucking zits last week. Like, I had a huge one on my chin, and then, I don't know if I saw you when I had this, but, like, I had a meltdown the other day at Hannah's shoot because I was showing poses in the mirror, and I was like, I can't look at my face right now, because I had this one that was, like, the red mark is still kind of there, but it was like a big zit right here. And you know when you can just feel them on your face like they hurt, and so you're aware of them all the time. It's like the worst feeling. I had this one that was like changing the shape of my lip. So my lip was kind of sticking out, and I was like, I look deformed. Like I don't look like myself. And so I don't know if that's from the primer or if it's from the fact that last week I was eating a lot of peanut butter, and peanut butter causes acne. Yeah. So there's too many factors, so I need to keep using it, but eat the things that don't cause acne to really test it out. Okay. So I'll keep you posted.
Keep me posted, yeah. Because that's why, like, I love using primer, too, because the same thing. Like, I have really oily skin, and so always by the end of the day, it's like my makeup is melted off my face. But then I get so stressed out with primers because in the past, if I use them consistently, I will just, like, break out because it's, like, too much on my skin.
Yeah, yeah. I mean... I will say I don't use it on days when I'm just like running errands or whatever. It's like days when I know I'm going to be on camera. So if I'm going to the studio, basically, or we're podcasting, those are the days I'll use it.
Okay, keep me posted because I'll definitely buy it.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. All right. Well, before we end, the people, I'm sure, are going to have so many questions of everything here. So can they talk to you, like in the Facebook group? Can they reach out to you?
Always.
Okay, tell them.
Yeah, tell people where to find you.
I am Samii Raven in the Facebook group, SAMII-RAVEN, and also Samii Raven on all socials, TikTok, Instagram, all the things. Samii Raven, SAMII-RAVEN.
I love it. Okay.
Yay. I'm so excited to see what types of questions
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna will you share, like, if you get a lot of questions about like the same thing, will you share like some of that stuff?
So 100%.
Okay, cool. Okay, and then where can people find us?
They can find us at Naked Peach Boudoir on all the socials. Naked Peach Boudoir VIP Facebook group to get in on the group. It's women and women identifying people only, though, so dudes do not apply. And www.nakedpeachboudoir.com. You can find me at T-Smells with a Z on all the socials.
And you can find me at Anna McLaughlin Photo. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.